Hi, and welcome to my craft room. My name is Kara, and I live in the Pacific Northwest with my husband, two of my 3 adult children, and an English bulldog named Dozer. Today is June 2nd, and I wanted to talk about what I crafted in the month of May. All knit and crochet. And I heard on a recent podcast of somebody that I saw, I can't even remember which one, that this would be her video log of her Ravelry project pages. And I totally agree. That's exactly what this is. So I have some notes and I have Ravelry open, and let's talk about what I've been crafting. I have 7 whips, 4 of which are scrappy blankets, and I have 3 finished objects from the month of May. So the first finished object was a baby blanket, which I did show last month. I filmed later in the month of May, and I had just finished this on May 6th, and I'd filmed after that. This is a baby blanket made out of Knit Picks Bravo worsted in a brown, orange, and then this cream was like baby DK, also Knit Picks, but I cannot remember the color. But it's just an off-white cream color, and so I just alternated that in a chevron pattern, and this project is in Ravelry if you want to look. I based it off of a scarf pattern. I've made a couple blankets from that. Okay, so my next finished object is a pair of socks. These are my May socks. I am trying to knit a pair of socks each month this year from Old Stash. And this is a pair of DK socks. This is Freckled Whimsy. And I have lost my tag. Oh, here we go. This is Freckled Whimsy Serendipity DK in her Zodiac collection. Serendipity DK, and this was the Taurus colorway, which is May. So my birthday's in May, so that's why I had purchased this probably 2 years ago. And so I split this skein in half, and then I just knit 2 tubes. I started at the cuff and just knit as far as I could until I could, so I had just a tiny bit of nuggets left. And then there's a contrast color, and I cut in these heels, afterthought heels. And I know that some people are quote unquote scared of cutting their knitting and putting in afterthought heels. It's really not that hard or scary. I think the main thing is making sure you put the heel in the right spot. And I have made mistakes. I was measuring a previous pair that I had done, and this is also Freckled Whimsy. These were my Advent ones from December of last year. And this afterthought heel I put in too close to the toe. So this does not fit my foot. It is a little bit short. So I am thinking of unpicking the toes and knitting another stripe before restarting the toes. And I will probably finish with the cream color. I have more of this yarn. I have one that you usually get 2 color repeats. So I will probably knit a second pair of socks or something scrappy with the second half of these skeins, so I can knit a whole nother color repeat. But I'll probably just unpick the toes, lengthen it a little bit, and then just use part of the contrast to finish these off so they can fit me and I can wear them. So that is finished object number 1, or 2 if you count the blanket. The second one, I also have a circular sock machine. I have a Gearhart Speedster. I am blanking on the name. Anyway, I have a circular sock machine, and I have been practicing with it. So I cranked this one pair of socks. They're shorties, but I had to crank them probably a couple times. You know, you drop stitches, you're practicing, you make mistakes. I knit one too long. I did actually do the whole thing on the machine, knitting the toe and then grafting it together. And this is Knit Picks Felici in the Sanderson colorway. And it's called a heel tab shorty. So the heel has a little tab. You do some short rows, and then you fold over your cuff and connect it, and then do a deep heel, crank your thing, then you do another, basically another, you do your toe, and then you graft it across the top. So this is a pair of cranked shorties in a size 8, and these would probably be for me. I have more of this yarn, and I do plan to make more pairs. I am going to do contrast on the top though, because this actually used more than 50 grams. So I had to get into another skein to finish the pair. And I would like to get one pair at a 150 gram skein, and I can do that if I do a contrast heel. And so my next pair I will be working on this month will be with the contrast. Okie dokie. So my plans for June. So let's go over some whips. The only other whips that I worked on were the scrappy blankets. I do have my Millie sweater, which is here, which I did not work on in the month of May at all. I have the body done. I just need to do sleeves. And this is in the Chelsea Luxe yarn that I have, and it's in the cobblestone in the rose gold colorway. I've had this yarn for a long time, and I'm just trying to use up, and I've had this sweater in my queue for a long time. So the Millie sweater, did not work on this at all this month. Another project I didn't work on at all was this felted bag that I am making finishing for a friend at church. This is made out of lamb's wool, Knitter's Pride lamb's wool, or Lamb's Pride, I guess, sorry. And it's called the Oregon Tote, and it is on my Ravelry project pages as well. You knit the bag, then you felt it, and I still need to make another couple rounds on the top. I just haven't worked on this at all. I have to pick up all the stitches, do another I-cord bind off, and then felt it. So I have that still working on. I did start a second pair of socks in the month of May. I started this pair and I got one done. This is Lolo Did It in her original. And this is called Hippo for Ice Cream for Breakfast. And the date on there says 7/1/20. So this has been in my stash for 6 years. And I'm finally knitting it. And I decided to do a little bit of a shorter leg. I did keep track. I only did 40 rounds. I did a little pop of color at the top and a 20 round cuff, and then just 40 rounds before I started my heel flap and gusset. I used 2 of the contrast colors for the heel and the toe, and I'll knit the second one. I wanted to have some leftovers of this to try another pair of shorties on my circular sock machine. So I wanted to do shorter legs on this pair so that I have more left over to do circular sock machine. So this sock. So my plan is the June stash that I have. This is a skein of Sweet Georgia yarn, and it is called, her Tough Love sock, and this was called Snapdragon. Again, I've probably had this for 5 or 6 years, and I'm going to wind this up and make a pair of socks for the month of June out of this. So that is my plan for June socks. Okay, so scrappy projects. So both crochet, and I kept track of the grams that I was knitting or crocheting into the scrappy things, and I did 300 grams. So 300 grams of scraps out of my stash and into these blankets. So the first one is my Lolo Did It Hippo Stripe, Granny Stripe. And I think here, okay, here is my marker. This was where I was at the end of, or the beginning of May. So I've crocheted all of these. A couple different colors here. And this will be a blanket. This blanket's going to be huge, like the size of a double bed. So anyway, those were some of the colors that I put in this month. And then the rest went into another corner to corner because, you know, just started. So I had a big magic knot ball. I had, so these 3 colors down here that I started with, or these 4 colors actually, are in the scrappy blanket I did in April, and the stripe blanket, and I just put the remainder of those skeins in here and started this one, and then put a random blue in, and then I had a magic knot ball that's like from here all the way up to here. And so it was a huge magic knot ball. And so it's just random, and it was little tiny scraps. So I have lots of little ends to weave in. So when I make my magic knot ball, I make my knot and I leave longer tails, and then I will go back in and weave these tails in both directions, just to give it a little extra security that those knots won't come undone. Or if they do come undone, I will have a end to weave in. You can see this is some nitpicks here because it's striped, and the way that it went, it's kind of cool. But anyway, this is usually what I do, either first thing in the morning for a half an hour, or in the evenings while my husband and I are watching TV. I'll just crochet on these 2 projects, and that it's just something that I can do. I did less this month because I really was reading a lot. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was reading and watching, because I have always been a reader since since I graduated high school. I became a reader after high school. And I've gone through phases where it's more or less. I love audiobooks also, but I also love a physical book. And I've just decided this last year that I really wanted to read more. And so I really try to either get books from the library or audiobooks. My husband loves audiobooks, so we do Audible a lot. And so I've kind of determined my comfort level is one audiobook that I listen to in the car during my commute, or if I'm walking the dog and I'm by myself. And then one physical book that I'll read throughout the day if I have any time, or in the evenings before bed, so that I don't, I usually read about an hour in bed before I fall asleep so that I'm not on my phone. And I belong to a book club through Lolo Did It with, with some knitting friends, and we do once a month Zoom calls and stuff. So this month we are reading The Huntress by Kate Quinn. That's what it is. I want to say Caitlin Hunter, but that's a knitter. She's a knitting designer. No, Kate Quinn. The Huntress by Kate Quinn. And this is my first Kate Quinn book, and I'm really liking it. It's historical fiction, a little bit in World War II, mostly post-World War II. And so I'm enjoying that one. I've got a physical book for that from the library. And then last month's book club was called The Demon of Unrest by Eric Larson. And that's a Civil War narrative nonfiction book. And that kind of got me very interested in some Civil War and history. So I'm now listening to North and South, which was basically all of my American history in high school was watching the North and South miniseries. And so I decided I was going to listen to the book by John Jakes. And I had just finished listening to The Count of Monte Cristo, which is a really like a 52-hour Audible book, and it took me 3 months because I took breaks, but I really enjoyed that. Memorial Day weekend, my daughter and I were here home alone, and we binge watched a show called Blood of My Blood, an Outlander prequel on Stars. I've read all of the Outlander books and watched most of the seasons of Outlander. My husband enjoys that too, so we decided after my daughter and I watched Blood of My Blood, which is about a prequel, and we decided to rewatch a couple of the Outlander series too, because we ended up just getting Stars to have for a couple of months, and so we have not seen season 7 or 8. We've read all the books, but we just hadn't watched the TV series because I haven't had Stars in a couple of years. So our plan is to watch season 7 and 8 of Outlander, and then I'll rewatch The Blood of My Blood with my husband because I think he'll really like it. So that's kind of what I've been doing with reading and watching. I do have some acquisitions. I really have been trying to knit from my stash. I did a couple clean outs of my stash and organizing, making and seeing if I had everything logged. I still need to log a few things in Ravelry stash. I've just been really trying to knit what I have. I have bought yarn for no purpose at all. I have some that I have bought for purpose. I've got projects in my queue that have been there for quite a long time that I want to knit, and so my goal is to only buy yarn if I have a plan for it. And it's a goal, and I can say I did buy a couple skeins this month that haven't gotten here yet, but that I don't have a plan for. I just bought them because I like the colors. But anyway, I did go to one of the local yarn stores on LYS Day. It's called the Applewood Yarn Barn. I got this tote from them, and I just wanted to share a couple things that I purchased. There is a local dyer. Her name is Two Springs Fiber Arts, and she had knit a couple. She had some great colors. This one was called Peach Blossoms, and then I bought this beautiful skein called Citrus Salad, and these I think will make beautiful socks. Whoop, they're bright and blowing out the camera. So I did buy these just for fun. I will most definitely make socks with these too, so even though I didn't specifically had a plan or anything, most likely these will be socks. And then they were having a closeout sale on the Fiber Company, which I heard from the shop owners that they are going to stop making this. So this was Tweedy yarn, and this is a Donegal Heritage Tweed. It's a DK, and I bought 4 skeins of this. That was all they had left, all in this black color. In fact, I can't even tell if it has a colorway name on it or not. I do not see one. Anyway, I went ahead and bought all 4 skeins that they had left of this color. I figured that I will find a shawl or a sweater or something, maybe a Colorworks yoke sweater, and that could be the main color. So I did buy a little bit of yarn in the month of April. I actually bought that in April, but and then that is it. So I think that is it for today. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, just ask them below. And thank you very much, and have a blessed day.